on life, the law, and liberty. Sponsored by the LaHood Norton Law Group. And now, your objection sustained. Your hosts, Karen Klaus and former Bexar County District Attorney, Nico LaHood.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is Sidebar, and we love for you to listen to us on the radio, but we also love for you to join our stream. You can find your platform, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, X. You can go to sidebartv.com, and that's where you'll find out every single place that we are. We appreciate every single one of you being here every single week. And I don't know if you heard the announcement from last week, but starting February 7th, we're going straight to the stream, so it's best that you find it right now. If you're only listening on the radio, maybe try it today so you can start saying, okay, February, we're going to be streaming only. Also, while you're finding it out for yourself, if you haven't already, maybe this will be the great time to share the video, share the, what we're doing with friends and families so that we can grow our audience. We're just really asking for your help in this. And just a little bit of a reminder, if you do not listen on the stream and you've never done it before, we'll send you a little reminder. If you text the word sidebar to 210-560-0180. I'll give out that phone number again, and I'm sure Salo is going to have it posted online. So what's trending in the news this week? I mean, you can't get away from it. This story continues to grow. That ICE fatality, fatally shooting a woman in Minneapolis. The entire Venezuela story, which I almost forgot that it just happened last Saturday when we were on here, and that continues to grow. President Trump continuing to ramp up, talking about taking Greenland, Iran rocked by another night of protest. That's a really bizarre situation that I want to get to if we can. And then New York City's new, as George put it, tenant director. Is that real? I didn't know if that was real or not. She thinks private property ownership is a whiteness problem. Please come here every week. We love having you as listeners and viewers. This is where you can find the former Bexar County DA, Nico LaHood, trial lawyer, managing partner of LaHood Norton Law Group, and George Araujo, scholar, former chemist, pharmaceutical researcher, and director. So the big story that I think so many people in the news anyway have been split on is the ICE shooting in Minneapolis. Now, new video is coming out with different angles from everywhere. Is this a cut and dry case? Is this something that people should be on different sides? Is it something that could have been avoided? I don't understand.
Well, you said a lot there. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Could it have been avoided? Sure, but from whom? That's the question you have to ask. Number one. Number two, what I've seen, the little that I've seen, I've had a very busy week, but what I've seen is this has been politicized already. I mean, you got the people that are anti-ICE that think it's a bad shoot. You got the people that are pro-ICE and pro-Trump conservative that think it's a good shoot. And as you know me, I'm going to look at it with the blindfold. Lady Justice wears a blindfold. I'm going to apply the law and the facts and analyze it and go from there. This is going to be a self-defense case. And the standard in general, in Texas for sure, but in general, even over there, is the reasonable belief of apparent danger, and is it imminent? Reasonable. In Texas, apparent, which comes under the reasonableness, and then an apparent versus actual. Apparent meaning that you could think you're in danger, but not really be in danger. Actual danger is whether you're in actual danger or not. And then is it imminent, immediate to do that? Or do you have time to respond? And are you really in threat of your life or serious bodily injury? You have to think about what a deadly weapon is. A vehicle is a deadly weapon. Anything in its manner and means or manner of use can be used to cause serious bodily injury or death. I mean, a pen can be a deadly weapon in its manner and means of use at the time. So is the vehicle a deadly weapon? I've heard a lot of things in defense, and I'm just going to lay out the groundwork. You guys can ask questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. Her intention was just to get away. It wasn't legally. Her intention is irrelevant because you can't get into someone's mind unless it's obvious. I just want to get away, but still the perception of the officer matters. The issue is, what is the objective perception of the officer? What was it? And that's a standard that's been set up by the Supreme Court in a couple of cases. Well, you have to put your shoes and put yourself in the shoes of the officer. I've heard other analysts. I was driving back in town last night when I was trying to listen to some of this. Was that there was multiple shots? You have to, well, not really. I mean, Yes, there's an issue with multiple shots, but then there isn't an issue with multiple shots. Plumhoff versus Richardson in 2014, there was a Supreme Court case that says that an officer is justified in using deadly force until the deadly force has been neutralized. Whether that's 1 shot or 5 shots, I mean, you got to neutralize the deadly force. So that's going to be a point in contention and an argument. And then so now it's going to come down to the objective evidence. You know, was the officer in the middle? Was he on the front end? Was he in front of the vehicle? What did he perceive? I think that one of the strong, and again, there are already people's blood is boiling just by talking about some of these issues, and I get it, depending on what side you're on. But I think a piece of evidence that's going to really matter when you're putting yourself in the shoes of the officer is his body cam, because he's wearing body cam. It's very different when you look at that body cam video versus looking at the video from the side, because from the side, different angles, it's not as clear versus what the officer was looking at. We can analyze apparent danger, whether, you know, what that means and what that's going to look like in a case like this, and analyzing it. So I'm as you know, with me, I'm going to wait for all the evidence to come in. In my humble opinion, it is leaning towards a good shoot. I would say that I'm stronger on the good shoot side than I'm not. Again, still open to looking at all the evidence, but I can only make analysis as evidence comes in, reassess it, apply the law. And I'm going to, of course, I know the law, so I'm applying the law appropriately, and we do a lot of these cases, and then go from there, open-minded. So now another issue is, what is the local DA going to do? Are they going to prosecute him or not?
Okay, wait a second, because you bring that up because this is not in the hands of the feds. It's a local issue.
Sure, that's going to be in the hands of the feds as well, but it's not double jeopardy. I mean, the local DA can prosecute as well. So it's going to, and then you're going to get back into politics.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the mayor of the city telling ICE to F off, right? And get the F out of here and all this other stuff. So this is why it's so unfortunate to me, as someone that wades in the justice system every day in my profession, and knowing the effects it has on people's lives, that I truly, and I use the word very sparingly, but I hate the fact that things like this get politicized, because it's irrelevant about the politics shouldn't matter, whether you support ICE or not. Let me just throw this in there, just to give you an example of my standard. Babbitt, is it Ashley Babbitt from January 6th?
Yes.
I thought that was a good shoot.
What?
Yep. I would defend that offer.
We have to talk about that.
That was a good shoot. Absolutely was a good shoot. I mean, it's clear. It's not even close. That is political. If you think that's a bad shoot, you either respectfully are ignorant to the law, or you're letting your politics influence your opinion.
I just thought because it was in her back and she was facing.
It wasn't in her back. It was she was kicking open the door.
Oh, okay.
She was kicking through a window.
That's why
after
I
she'd
always
been told
thought
by a federal agent to stop, and then there's a mob behind her, and she's criminally trespassing on a.
The Ashley Babbitt case has been a real divisive topic. Nico stands largely alone on his analysis from a person who's conservatively minded. A lot of conservatives just said, "Oh, it was a bad shoot."
Oh yeah, right? Because she she didn't have a gun.
So that's a departure from the consensus. I'm always worried about consensus.
Yeah, but with all due respect to because I am a conservative, I don't care what the conservatives think. I care about the law.
I'm with you, and that's what I was going to say. I think
the law applies to conservatives and liberals,
and it better. And people who have a problem with that are sure going to appreciate it when they're on the other side and they're being accused. Yeah. If you got a real problem with this defense attorney saying it'll sure come in handy when you need a defense attorney. I was going to say that I got kind of it was dizzying, all the videos that were coming out, and all of them were showing essentially the same thing. I was saying, just as I came in here, Nico, I was really looking forward to hearing your analysis. I think the best video presentation of all people was by Anderson Cooper on CNN. I thought his breakdown was really good. Very little commentary. In the very last minutes, I think, of yesterday, there was a video that came out from a home surveillance system from the front. Because all the other videos that we saw were like angled shots, right? It was a little tough to see what in the world was this officer doing. And the narrative was that he walked in front of the vehicle. But if you look at this particular view, and I'll shoot it over to you, I was trying to find it. And again, kudos to Anderson Cooper, because he enters very little editorializing, it's mostly commentary. What happens is she pulls up and normal maneuver, pulls up in parallel with the sidewalk, and then all of a sudden the passenger, who is her partner, jumps out and starts filming the thing, allegedly to put it up on social media, because she did. But then the vehicle turns sharply, and so she's now across the median. By the way, that itself was seen by ICE as illegal, as impeding a lawful, law enforcement operation.
She belongs to a group to do that.
She does.
She's
part of ICE
That matters, because if you come up, and if the prosecution comes up with her intent, she was just trying to get away, then that may open the door evidentially to bring. No, she wasn't just trying to get away.
They know her from other
to stop things than to impede. Keep going, George.
So she's now perpendicular, right? And so she's clearly impeding the flow, and then the officers get out of the truck. But what we see from this video is that she's in that angle. The officers begin to approach her and engage her on the side. And then another officer's coming up, and he's not in front of the truck yet. But then, Nico, she backs up and she reorients the vehicle towards him. So it's not that he went to stand in front of the vehicle, but as she backs up the vehicle and turns the vehicle, he is now firmly in her front. And then she accelerates. So I'd like to ask you.
She backs up first and then she accelerates.
She backs up, turns the vehicle so that he's now oriented in front of the vehicle.
Well, we don't know if she was doing it to get away or to go at him, but she does turn the vehicle.
All we can deduce is what happens after, because she immediately accelerates.
Legally, what's only relevant is how the officer perceived it. Now there was a detention. Hey, get the F out of the car. You've been detained.
Yes.
And so now whether it's a lawful detention or not, it's irrelevant. And that we had that deal with our last trial. It's a detention. And so she's been legally detained for some type of infraction. That's number one. And here's the question that I always pose to people. If she had not been shot and killed, unfortunately, because it's still unfortunate, it's a tragedy. But if she had not been shot or killed, would she have been charged with aggravated assault against a peace officer? The answer is yes. She should have been.
I want to ask you, what's setting aside the shooting? What's legal, what's illegal here? Because there's been a lot on social media about whether ICE has the legal authority to apprehend individuals. And the question is, it's not that they were pulling over for some traffic violation. They accosted her or they engaged her because they saw that she was impeding an operation, their operation, which they are legally able and rightfully endowed to do. So that's where it gets really hairy.
Okay, we're going to take a break right now, but we have comments like from Doug, who says, how in the world can our federal agents be subject to being charged in every local town they enter? And also, we have a note from Gene. He says, I love this topic, but we need more topics. Let's get going. That's why we want to go on streaming. So just stand by. We'll give you all the details. We'll be right back with more on Sidebar.
With reputations as respected high-level prosecutors in Bexar County, the attorneys of LaHood Norton Law Group bring invaluable practical knowledge from the other side of the aisle, using over 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome.
I'm Nico LaHood with LaHood Norton Law Group. Have you been arrested or accused of a crime? The LaHood Norton Law Group has the knowledge to defend you regardless of how small or large your case. In Bexar County, anywhere in the state, or even nationwide, we have the knowledge to defend you in federal or state court, no matter how small or large your case. We are trial lawyers with proven success.
Using their 70 years of combined experience to strategically advocate for their clients' rights and pursue the best possible outcome. The LaHood Norton Law Group. For a free consultation, call today, 210-797-7700, 210-797-7700, LaHoodNorton.com.
This is Nico LaHood. If you or a loved one has been arrested or accused of a crime, we can help.
LaHoodNorton.com.
1200 WOAI. I mentioned it before. If you have never joined us on streaming, please just text the word sidebar to 210-560-0180, and we'll give you little reminders because in February, we're going to start to stream only. So back to the conversation about the...
But I want to lovingly take a shot at Gene. I mean,
yes.
I mean, this is the only case. This is the only issue that people, not the only, but people have been talking about this for 2 days, and it's gotten so political and so passionate, and everyone's talking about it because there's so much here. There's politics here. There's legal analysis here. There's ICE and what they should be doing, and should they be doing that? What are they doing? So there's a lot of issues that come up from this. Right now, we're just doing the legal analysis, and it's important analysis because Salo had a question. He's like, what about the third shot when he shot from the side? I go back to that case. Now, it's a civil rights standard, but still it's a standard that can be applied criminally, that Plumhoff versus Richard. And then, of course, you have Graham v. Connor that everyone talks about the reasonable officer standard analysis. But, I mean, you can use force against deadly force until the threat has been neutralized. Then in Texas, and I think that state has a similar statute. I don't want to say for sure, someone correct me. Under 951 in Texas, it's called the dangerous fleeing felon statute, meaning that if the officer believes that the suspect has committed an offense involving deadly conduct, which an ag assault against a peace officer is deadly conduct, and that suspect presents a danger to the public, meaning that could they do this to somebody else? They're fleeing. They've already tried to assault an officer. Then you can use deadly force to stop the fleeing of that suspect. So, I mean, look, all this needs to be analyzed. And again, who's going to analyze it? Of course, the local DA will have to analyze it. What political pressure is that person? I don't know if it's a male or female.
I want to break down some felonies if I can, or perceived felonies.
Sure.
I'd like you to sort of demystify that for me. So there's at least two, it seems to me, because she's impeding the progress of a law enforcement operation by a federal agency.
That would be a federal charge, right?
Right. So right there, that is illegal. And so they have a right to confront her about that because she's in fact blocking them in. And there's been lots of occurrences where this has happened. DHS has recorded, they're saying 3,200%. The math isn't complicated. Since January 21st until now, there have been 66 vehicle-involved impediments of law enforcement operations by ICE, whereas the previous year they had 2. Do the math, 66 divided by 2 is 32. 32, that's 3,200%. So this has been happening a lot where ICE is concerned. That is illegal. You can't do that. The second thing, Nico, is that when they approached her and then she decided to flee, that's also a felony. You can't flee.
Evade and arrest in a vehicle is a felony in Texas.
Yeah. And so I kind of lost count of those two major ones. This has been sort of battered back and forth on social media. And even Alamo Talk, I wonder if he's joined us today. And I addressed this on Facebook because he raised the issue. The perception seems to be that ICE has no jurisdiction and has no enforcement ability here legally to do any of the things that we're talking about. In other words, stopping a vehicle, removing a vehicle, maybe not for traffic violations. They're not traffic cops. But if it's an impediment to their operation, and then once they engage an individual, if that individual tries to flee that officer that's trying to engage them,
let's just take it out of the officer. If that was an everyday citizen that was standing in front of that vehicle,
they even need to be involved ICE. Just regular.
That's an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. I mean, if somebody's driving at you with a vehicle, you can defend yourself with deadly force. I mean, there's plenty of videos out there of people being run over by cars. There's even videos going around where the officer's behind the car, the suspect, which I would have never tactically done that. She was between her car and the suspect, and the car just went in reverse and smashed her, killed the cop. I mean, and it is a huge instrument. They can get energy and gain speed very quickly. This is not something that kind of slowly ramps up. I mean, so this is a deadly weapon. There's not anyone, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, that's not going to argue or they can defend objectively that this is not a deadly weapon. And it was used against this individual, happened to be an officer. So there's a lot there. That's why I said I'm leaning towards this is a good shoot. I want to look at everything first. But I mean, it would be a very, very defensible case. The question for me is, should it even be prosecuted in the first place? And that's my analysis. And
so that's the analysis of what actually happened, the legalities of it. And then there's the political side.
And then there's politics.
Which is where people seem to be buried. I mean, those are legitimate issues, but they can't be conflated.
No.
And so where do the politics come in a court of law?
Zero. Should be. Well, let me tell you.
The politics of intent is what I was getting at. Sorry, I'm kind of leading the witness here. But what about intent and motive? It's not that we can't say that she was trying to kill the officer, but she had intent to at least resist. The ICE Watch group has a website, and they mentioned 3 things that they wish to do. They wish to monitor. They wish to document. Both of those things are protected speech. The third one is what's in question, to resist ICE operations and the apprehension of illegal aliens, which is why they were there. But that's the other question. Why was ICE even there? Well, ICE was in there actually in large response to the attention that Minnesota has had over the last few weeks. I think we know what they are. So it's the issue of resisting. You can't resist an ICE operation. You can't resist a law. Forget ICE for a moment. You can't resist law enforcement.
But even if you do resist an ICE operation, doesn't mean that they can use deadly force against the person resisting. It's how they resist. Yeah. That's the key. It has to be deadly force. You can match deadly force proportionately to deadly force being shown against you or being presented to you. That's the analysis for me. I mean, so if you want to resist ICE all you want, you're probably going to get your ass kicked and you're going to get arrested. So then, okay, fine. There's your consequence.
And as an example, what would make this a bad shoot is if she had pulled a car like she did and the officer simply went up to her and started shooting.
If she was reversing and the officer shot, then he'd have a problem. Yeah. He'd have a problem unless there was an officer behind her. Now he's defending the third person, defense of third person. And you can use deadly force to defend a third person like you can defend yourself. So this is very fact specific when you talk about use of force and deadly force situations.
I'm just still dumbfounded at the thought that so many people are even using the term victim blaming. Because if you go there as part of a group with the intent to resist ICE operations. How is that? How is that something can happen, but it's the ICE officer's fault?
The reality is, look, it's a tragedy. This young lady, it's, for me, is an image bearer. She has the image of God in her. I wish she would have did not had to pass away. I don't see any objective evidence that she was trying to kill the officer, but that's irrelevant when it comes to your legal analysis. The legal analysis, like, is there any evidence that Babbitt was trying to kill the officers or wanted to burn down the Capitol? No. But she was committing a violent act. She was breaking through a window with a mob behind her after being instructed to stop on a locked door. Put yourself in the officer's shoes, because if that mob would have gotten in there, what would they going to do? We don't know. I mean, you can't. But their intent was just a chant inside the Capitol. So what? It's irrelevant. Remember, I'm going to do the same objective analysis, and so that's where I come from a legal standard, applying the law and use of deadly force and use of force statutes.
But the politics do matter. The politics do matter because they're driving the narrative right now.
They shouldn't.
And what we're seeing, I think, is utterly tragic. And I'm concerned about ending up with a George Floyd 2.0 situation on our hands here, because it's the same parties, it's the same political parties, it's the same narratives here, and the organizations that she was part of have the same motif. They have. I mean, she left, again, speaking to motive, the New York Post, I think, has done the best breakdown, beginning, middle, and end of this aspect, the political aspect. They've stayed out of the legalities for a moment, and they've gotten into the political aspect. What exactly was she doing there? Who was she? Where did she come from? What is she part of? She's all over social media along with her partner. So those things weigh into, that's why I asked you, at some point, these motives matter, and this information matters. I just wondered at what point, and how does a court of law keep them separate?
Well, they're supposed to not even. I mean, look, you can look at motives, you can talk about motive, but there's no motive that she was intending to run over the officer. I mean, there's no evidence it's going to be. But again, that's why I try to keep it separate. And look, what I humbly suggest to people. Babbitt as a mark. Then yet you know, and that's a legitimate criticism. Look, I mean, Babbitt was an image bearer also, and there's no indication that she had any ill intent or evil intent or wanted to hurt or kill anybody, but she was still doing what she was doing with a mob behind her, breaking into the Capitol after being told to stop. Put it in your shoes. If somebody's at your door, and this is what I had this discussion with 4 or 5 of buddies of mine who are conservative like I am. And I was just saying, guys, you're wrong. I'm sorry. And then when I posed this question on them, they paused. I go, so you're telling me that if that same woman was kicking open your front door with 50 people behind her, with no weapon, and you told her to stop, you wouldn't have shot her? And if you did shoot her and she died, you want to be? So take the politics out of there, put the blindfold back on, and let's make a logical and legal analysis of circumstances. And so that's it. And that's why that officer wasn't shot. I don't care who he is. I don't care where he's from. I don't care if he's illegal. It doesn't matter. That was a good shoot in that situation. And I am leaning towards, and I'm almost there, I just got to look at more evidence that this was a legal shoot as well.
I'm worried about the pretext, the political pretext that left-wing agitators are going to use to literally burn down Minnesota. And you've got Tim Walz and Jacob Fry and Keith Ellison, who are radical activists in positions of power, who are fomenting and why are they doing that?
It's not just them. A lot of the people on the left are doing the same thing.
Sure.
I mean, so that's why I guess Anderson Cooper, I'll have to go back and watch it. Good for him, because he's on that team, and good for him.